Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and the new edition of our online interview series. And today we want to talk with, even two gentlemen from Tier 1 Silver. You remember the spin out from the former Orange Resources. And we have here Peter Dembicki, the CEO of the company. Good morning to Canada also, Peter. Hi. And we have David Smithson, the Senior Vice President Exploration here. Yeah, so great to have you guys here. Thank you very much. We just had a little bit of a problem of the line, but I think that's the flavor of the day today with Canada. But let's go directly into medias res. And I want to start with David because you are now the man. You guys are drilling since 115 days, I think. And you are doing this, of course, at Guribaya, and you have the Guribaya target there, but you got your drill permit, and I saw already you have filed also for an extended drill permit, but let's do one after the other. So David, what was going on? How many meters you have achieved, and are you satisfied with what you saw so far?
Well, satisfied, yes. We're about 3,500 meters into the program. So like you said, about 115 days in. So, just like the trenching, the new Guribaya target that we saw here come up onto the radar recently, we're seeing a very similar trend with the drilling. We started off on hole one, we hit structures, we hit smoke, we started learning in the third dimension. It was the same with the trenches. We started off very early, we got some bulk low tonnage sort of intercepts, we got into our trenching, we got into the understanding of the structures and where the primary feeders are. We've identified 5 across the property now, which is really good. That gives us 5 opportunities at discovery. And it wasn't until Trench 55 that we actually got a really, really, really big number and really significant. And, drilling not so extreme, but we started off learning and we're starting to hit our stride now with the drill. And we're starting to see better structures and we're starting to see better fluid in those structures. Of course, we're not privy to any geochemistry data yet. It just hasn't come back. But texturally, we always look at the rock. We're always interested in knowing what textures are there, what the minerals are in the rock. And what we're seeing coming out of the ground on the more recent holes is that we're seeing better fluid flow, better veins, better sulfide, better base metals, and we'll see what the pressures look like when we get the results back. But it's following a very similar trend. It's a maiden drill program. We have to start somewhere and start our learning. And we're in our 10th hole, 3,500 meters in, and we're tracking well.
Fantastic. So that means, of course, as you said, you just started with drilling. And as you said really correctly, exploration is something you have to start somewhere. Obviously, you know where to start. But it would be outstanding if, let's say, the first 10 meters are already the big hit. That is something out of the land of dreams, I would say. But as said, you guys had already fantastic channel samplings on the one hand. So when can we expect the first, let's say, full drill results, the full set, and how many meters you want to drill by now? Let's say until Christmas.
Yeah, I'll take that, Dave. We're still waiting on the assays to come back from the labs, Johan. So as soon as we can compile the data and get it all organized from our end, we're going to release it to the public. We're super intrigued as to the progress that we've made. Again, Dave mentioned that when we first put our first couple holes into the ground, it was based, mostly on geophysics. We had to test a few things here and there. We felt we were close, but as the drills have progressed, as the trenching data came back in, we made a real pivot. We had one diamond drill rig, and the market and our shareholders deserved, something on a more expedited manner as far as results. If we had all the time in the world, we'd drill a kilometer-long holes and do that forever to learn, everything. But the reality is we got to do this fast. We got to do it as precise as possible and get the best information for Dave's team. And also for shareholders in the company to work off of for direction and planning as well. So we made a huge pivot to start doing shallower, shorter holes right under defined channel sample results that we know we have in our hand. And it's proving to be better and better. Each hole is getting better. 5 is better than 4. 6 is better than 5. What we're seeing in the core, and so it's really intriguing. We just need to get those verified results back for us to confirm it.
Fantastic. So is this also the reason why you guys applied already for additional 200 drill holes? I mean, this is really a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, these permits come in stages, and each stage, will increase the amount of holes you're allowed to have. So we started off with an FTA, which was our original plan, 20 pads, 2 holes per pad, gives us 40 holes. So it seems like it's a fair amount of holes, but really, Dave has to use every one of those drill pads so perfectly because we only get 2 swings on each pad, right? But with this DIA, which is the expanded permit, it really opens us up to up to 200 holes, and it really gives Dave the flexibility to test a lot more with that many. So again, this is something that we're going to incorporate. And the reason why we did this drilling permit and the new zone is because of this Guribaya target zone. I mean, I had an opportunity to visit Dave and the team in Peru in early August. And when I was at base camp, all the geologists were coming back in from this zone that they didn't know much about. But we're saying, Peter, like, you won't believe what we're seeing. The grades are unbelievable. Like, it is all about, we called it the Norte at that time, since later named Guribaya, and it just was it was incredible. And now we're seeing that coming through with the lab with these trench results and everything, that it is true. So that's what we wanted to incorporate by expanding this permit. And the permit gives us that many more drill holes and drill pads to work with. And that doesn't mean we're stopping where we're working at Curibaya. I mean, it just means that we can expand it. By no means does it mean we're moving on from it. It just means we're doubling down, which I think shareholders like to see.
Okay, super. Absolutely. I'm one of those too. David, to what depths you are drilling by now? Let's say what depths is making sense by you now? Because I read in your press release with the demonstration of mineralized widths on surface at Guribaya, there are now at least 5 key feeder structures at Guribaya that individually or collectively hold the potential for a discovery. So can you explain that a bit to our viewers, what this means in the context?
Yeah, so all the mineralization we see on surface, which is a huge footprint of approximately 1 by 3 kilometers. It's a large area of mineralization. So what the trick is to get an intercept with the drill is to understand where all of that mineralization is coming from, because it has to be delivered to the surface through structure. And so what we've identified now as we're learning with the drill and with the trenching in parallel is that there's at least 5 primary fluid conduits, fluid structures that have allowed things to come up into the level that we're at currently in this particular point in time. We're studying and we're drilling a fossilized volcano that had a different paleo levels, and we're understanding what the different levels for base metals and precious metals are. And we're understanding what they are in a depth perspective and also a lateral perspective. So the first key thing is to vector in on where in all that mineralization is the meat. Where are the structures that are bringing all that meat and that fluid and that mineralization to surface? And so we use the analogy of kind of a tree. We have all this surface mineralization. There's lots of veins. They're kind of like the leaves on the tree. And then the branches are these main feeder structures that are delivering all that fluid into the level that we're seeing on surface, which is quite high level. So the depths that we're talking about, we have a mineralization window that could be as deep as 1 kilometer. We see evidences in the geophysics that that's the case, and we're identifying those primary architectural features that we can go drill for. And one of them might be what might have a vein on it, because we're looking for a vein or a breccia that has a dimension of a few hundred meters by a few hundred meters by 10 meters. That can make that kind of volume can make a high grade mine in an underground or a surface. So the targets are varied, and there's lots of room on each of those feeders to go explore for. And the general premise of what we're trying to do is we're starting shallow. We're starting with our trenches. We're using that information where the grades are the best and the widths are the best. We start and we drill under them. We see if they continue or not. And once we establish that, yes, they do have a vertical component to them, then we can go and drill them off. And we can go drill those off towards structures physical controls and structural traps that could make a mineral deposit. So that's why we're saying collectively or individually, any one of those structures could be the one that wins. Right now, the best drilling we've done has been on what we call the mother vein. But what we've established through the early drilling is that all the structures have a vertical component to them. They're all going to depth. So that's been really encouraging to see. And there's a couple of principal structures that have really got really pretty looking rock on them and good veins, and they're very interesting structures for sure.
And this is now all for gold, silver, but I think it's you are also looking for some copper, right?
Yeah, these epithermal systems come with base metals quite often, and the generalized model is precious metals closer to surface and base metal, precious metal to depth, and they can reverse and they can do all kinds of tricks depending on the complex history of the way it all formed. But that's the premise we're running on now. We're trying to establish the precious metal. How big is the precious metal window? But yeah, we might drill into base metals. They can go multi% in these kind of systems, so you can get economic intercepts in base metals as well.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit on the future, because you still have like 17 channel samples pending, I think, on the Guribaya target, because this is something, what is really important. Now you're drilling also in addition. So it looks like until Christmas, we should get a lot of news from you guys, right?
Yeah, we certainly will. And I guess 17 from Guribaya, another 15 from our second flagship project, Hurricane, which we haven't touched on. It's been a while since we've spoken, but a lot's happened since we listed. Hurricane was a project that we worked on or the team worked on, I should say, for a number of years to acquire a company by the name of Pembroke, a private company, and a fellow by the name of Dan Innes, formerly of Newmont. So Dave and Michael are very familiar with the technical work that he and his team had put in, which allowed us that confidence to go and go for this project. And just recently, we got access and are allowed to start applying for a drill permit that we're hoping to get within the next kind of 12 to 14 months. Now, this isn't just another, one-off property. This is something that could be an incredible swing. The grades are there, the widths are there. We sent up some of our two of our best geologists under Dave's team up to the property to do as much work as possible before, the rainy season starts mid-December, so we get as much information back. And then when we take that collective pause mid-December from operations due to rainy season in Peru, it'll give us the opportunity to plan for March, phase 2 of the drilling at Curibaya, incorporating Guribaya, and what we're going to do with Hurricane as well. Not to mention our other properties in our portfolio that in the background, we're just kind of slowly ticking away, because you never know what those things could become. So when you think Tier 1, you think a top class exploration. We're very aggressive in what we're doing. We sure feel like we're doing this on an expedited manner to get that fantastic discovery for shareholders and investors and for ourselves. And the best thing that I can do sitting where I am in Vancouver is let Dave and his team do what he does best. This is someone here that is living and breathing, eating Curibaya and helping, expedite Hurricane on the side as well, bringing that into the fold. So we're going to have a lot of throughout till February, March. I mean, we're hoping to get even another 5 or 6 holes in before our Christmas break. So it's going to be a constant flow. We just need some help from the lab turnaround time. And of course, Mother Nature always helps as well. And so I think, since we spoke last, Johan, Johan, when we first listed Tier 1 silver in June, we caught the tail end of silver being at $28 an ounce. So there was a real euphoric feeling about silver going to $300, $500 an ounce at that time. And we set the table quite nicely when we got listed. And so, our share price, it was on fire. It was rocketing, and it was fun at the time. However, we didn't even start drilling yet. So it was, sometimes tough to rationalize our market cap and our valuation at that time. Since then, you could probably put a chart over the price of silver and Tier 1 silver, and they'd be pretty similar when we saw the price of silver go all the way down to $22. And since then, it sure feels like we've caught a little bit of a tailwind. And that's a big part of things. When you have a sector that has some love behind it again, it really lifts all boats. And for us, it makes our life easier just that, share price is stabilized. We're above our issue price. We have no outstanding, warrants or people that are locked into their share prices. Everyone has had a great opportunity to come into the story. And now it's time to come back with facts and let the operations take it to the next level.
Yeah, I said time to deliver. And I'm pretty sure Dave will, that's for sure. Maybe David, do you want to give us 2-3 thoughts on the Hurricane Silver project?
Yeah, we took our first initial look. We took a reconnaissance look, and we mapped out one of the primary silver structures called the Magdalena. And it's there's 5-6 different parallel structures. These are orogenic gold systems up in Cusco. And we're seeing in the field from our first look that there's widths in trenches of silver veins, 3-4 meters in width, and they're occurring over kilometer scale. So our first initial looks at that target, defining how big it is, kind of what its widths are. Is it a series of structures? Is it just one structure? What's its potential? Because our promise to the market is to realize potential and drill, world-class holes into world-class deposits. So our first evaluation is to say, well, what kind of, are we optimistic about this structure? Do we think it's okay? Was the historical work good? Do we agree with their thinking? And they're the early things that we're answering right now. And our initial look is that, it's really, really interesting, good widths on the structures, lots of structures. It's in an area that's been overlooked historically. There's no producers in the area. It hasn't been explored. It's in a slightly more difficult area because it's got a long rainy season. So we're charging out there now to answer those early questions. Are we going to get this thing to drill? How long is it going to take? What are the probabilities of success, basically? And the early indications are that, we're going to pursue it aggressively. It looks nice in the field.
Okay, super.
It's presenting all the good geological points that we want to hit on a target to advance.
Perfect. So I would say you guys are setting up a beautiful menu for our viewers and the shareholders, of course, it looks to me like. And the next months you will deliver a lot of results. That is for sure, because you are doing a lot. So, Peter, what is cash in the bank? Are you financed for that? First questions. And second questions, do you see any challenges arising, let's say Peru political situation or workforce drill rig, stuff like that? Or do you say, no, we are full speed, high speed, we are full throttle moving and everything is fine. And the world is bright.
Yeah. Well, to start with your first question, Treasury is in great shape. We have around $7.5 million that's going to last us through till Q2. So really, it gives us an opportunity to pause, to suss out all the data, figure out where we want to go. We're not up against it as far as raising money. The tailwinds, like I mentioned, the macro story seems to be helping. The phone calls are coming finally in and inwards rather than me phoning out. And so it's a nice position to be in. People understand the prospects of our projects. As far as operationally, well, I think our latest news release says a lot. We're not only expanding it, we're doubling down, 200 additional holes. Our plan in the new year is to add an additional rig to be even more aggressive with these targets. And that's not leaving behind our Guribaya. That's doubling down. We're allowed to come back to our original drill spot and add more pads and more holes there as well. So it's all just getting bigger, and it just really shows that we're being more aggressive because we want it that much more. And then as far as politically, what a whirlwind. When we listed in June, I'm not going to lie, I did some pacing back and forth in the office when you had, the two candidates that we did have to choose from. But at the end of the day, Pedro Castillo has proven that he wants to open Peru back up to capital from the world. He was most recently in Washington, D.C. and New York City pitching Peru as they lost billions during the election. People were scared. So a lot of money was flowing out. And now he brought his finance minister with him to coax people to say, we are open for business. I've separated myself from the political party, which is probably the one that most people were worried about. And now he's his own kind of man. So again, things right now, Dave can attest, living in Peru, that it's much ado about nothing. Nothing has changed for him. Nothing was going to really change for us anyway, given the fact that we're an exploration company and not a producer. So we weren't really going to be faced with royalties and tax increases. But it sure opens up flexibility for us to operate. When our local communities are located in these rural areas, these were the ones that predominantly voted on the socialist side. So now they finally have a voice, and he's sitting as president. And that makes our life much better too, because as far as an ESG standpoint, as an exploration company in a country like Peru, the communities mean everything to us, everything. And if we don't have our communities on board, getting a drill permit means very little. And so we are so fortunate at Guribaya and so far at Hurricane that our communities are working excellently as partners with us, not as employees. They are true partners with us. So it's a really pleasant place to be. And we feel that we have staked our claim in a country like Peru, just as all the majors are going to be moving back into Latin America, back into these countries that once had political risk, because there is an extreme shortage of copper and silver out there. And we're in a great spot for that.
Absolutely. And I mean, Peru has a 500-year mining history, at least, I would say. So maybe longer even. You guys are on the right spot. Super. So I want to say thank you very much, because we are already at 22 minutes. Jesus. Very interesting. And yeah, I would say that we talk quite fast again, because I want to have your thoughts then on your results, channel sampling, drill results, etc. And yeah, so let's talk again probably end of November, beginning of December, and then keep fingers crossed that you guys hit really like unbelievable.
Thanks, Johan.
Thanks, Johan.
Super. Thank you very much. Great. It's great to talk to you. Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was David Smithson, the Senior Vice President, Tier 1 Silver for Exploration, and also Peter Dembicki, the CEO of the company. And you heard it, $7.5 million in the bank, 15 channel samples still to report from Hurricane, 17 from Guribaya. And also they have filed already a permit or an application to really extend and enlarge the drillings here to up to 200 drill holes. So I would say really a lot is finally here going on. Since 115 days they are drilling now, and we really look forward to a lot of drill results. I mean, the channel samples we saw so far were really fantastic, and it looks like that this might be hopefully the next big discovery, gold, silver, and probably also some copper. So I would say check out the company. Share price is on a fantastic situation here to really get into the company. It's really cheap now. Through the markets, of course. This was not the fault of the company, but sometimes the market moves forward, sometimes the stock moves forward, then the market comes back. And so from that side, I really advise you have a look on Tier 1 Silver. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.